The unexamined life is not worth living. It was Socrates who declared with unwavering conviction, the unexamined life is not worth living. These words were not just a passing thought. They were a challenge, a call to confront the depths of our existence. And so begins the story of Elias, a man whose life was forever altered by this ancient wisdom. Elias was a man of simplicity. He lived in a small town tucked away in rolling hills, where days bled into one another without distinction. School, work, dinner, and sleep defined his existence. By 35, Elias had what many might consider a good life, a steady job, a modest home, and a family that loved him. But deep within, he felt hollow, an emptiness he couldn't name, let alone escape. Each morning, Elias woke up to the same rhythm, clock out, repeat. His conversations were polite, but perfunctory. He never paused to question why he lived the way he did. Life was comfortable, yes, but it lacked spark, meaning, and purpose. His evenings were often spent mindlessly scrolling through social media, a futile attempt to distract himself from the growing sense of unease. He felt stuck in a loop, but the idea of change seemed too daunting. Recent events seemed to amplify his restlessness. A close friend, who had always been a beacon of health, suddenly passed away from an unexpected illness. This loss hit Elias hard, making him question the fragility of life. Meanwhile, headlines about economic uncertainty and global crises added a backdrop of existential weight, reminding him that time was precious and fleeting. One evening, Elias attended a lecture at the community center. The speaker, Dr. Amara Klein, was a passionate philosopher who spoke with a fire that lit up the room. She ended her talk with the words of Socrates, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The phrase hit Elias like a thunderclap. On his way home, those words echoed in his mind. Was his life truly worth living? What legacy would he leave behind if he were gone tomorrow? The questions swirled, refusing to let him rest. He began to recall moments from his past that he had avoided for years, dreams deferred, relationships neglected, choices made out of fear rather than conviction. The image of his friend's funeral flashed before him, the eulogies about a life well lived. He couldn't help but wonder, if his own time came, would there be anything meaningful to say? Haunted by the words of Socrates, Elias decided to examine his life. He began with a journal, though the act of writing felt foreign. He stared at blank pages, unsure where to start. But slowly, he began recording his thoughts, his daily routines, and his feelings. Patterns emerged. Elias saw how often he sought approval from others, and how rarely he acted from his own convictions. He noticed how much of his life was guided by a fear of failure and rejection. Books became his refuge. He devoured works of philosophy, psychology, and biographies of great thinkers. Marcus Aurelius taught him the value of inner resilience. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning awakened in him the realization that suffering, if faced with purpose, could lead to growth. Seeking kindred spirits, he joined a local philosophical discussion group. For the first time in years, Elias felt alive. The conversations ignited something within him, a curiosity about the world and his place in it. Amid these discussions, current events often found their way into their reflections. Climate change, inequality, and the pandemic's lingering effects were regular topics. Elias began to see the interconnectedness of personal growth and societal issues. Self-examination, he realized, wasn't just about individual fulfillment. It was about contributing to a better world. Self-examination was not easy. It forced Elias to confront the ghosts he had long ignored. He unearthed resentment toward his father, who had prioritized work over family. This realization opened his eyes to how those feelings shaped his own distant relationships. He saw how he had followed a similar path, keeping his emotions locked away, building walls that kept even his closest loved ones at arm's length. Elias also revisited a pivotal moment from his 20s, when he had abandoned his dream of becoming an artist. Practicality had won out over passion. But as he confronted this decision, he realized the regret it had sown in his heart. Fear of failure had kept him chained to a job he didn't love, perpetuating a cycle of mediocrity. One night, overwhelmed by these revelations, Elias broke down. He wept for the lost years, for the man he had been. In the stillness of that moment, he felt something unexpected: liberation. By naming his fears and regrets, they no longer controlled him. The act of facing his past head-on allowed him to reclaim his agency. With clarity came resolve. Elias began to make changes, bold, uncomfortable changes. He sat down with his wife and bared his soul. They had an honest conversation about their dreams, fears, and shared future. It brought them closer than they'd been in years. Together, they made a plan to support each other's aspirations while nurturing their relationship. Professionally, Elias took a leap of faith. He left his secure but uninspiring job to start a non-profit dedicated to environmental education. The risk was immense, but it ignited a passion he hadn't felt since childhood. For the first time, Elias felt like his work mattered. He spent long hours developing programs to teach children about the beauty and fragility of the natural world. The nonprofit became a labor of love, a reflection of his renewed purpose. He also connected his work to current events. Partnering with local schools, he created workshops that tied ecological lessons to pressing issues like deforestation and renewable energy. The children's enthusiasm was contagious, giving Elias hope for the future. Elias' transformation didn't stay confined to his own life. He felt a growing need to help others explore their own depths. He began writing essays about his journey, sharing them online. His candid reflections resonated, and soon he was invited to speak at events. Audiences were captivated by his authenticity and courage. After one such talk, A young woman approached him. With tears in her eyes, she told Elias his story gave her the courage to leave an abusive relationship and pursue her dream of writing. In that moment, Elias realized the power of living an examined life. It could inspire others to do the same. Each interaction like this deepened his conviction that Socrates' challenge was not just personal, but universal. Elias's journey didn't stop with personal growth. It expanded outward as he sought wisdom from cultures around the globe. In a small Indian village, he encountered the philosophy of non-attachment, learning to let go of lingering regrets and embrace the present moment. In Norway, he discovered friluftsliv, the practice of open-air living, which deepened his connection to nature and his own inner stillness. These experiences enriched both his life and his nonprofit's mission. He began organizing retreats that combined philosophical discussions with outdoor activities. The gatherings attracted people from all walks of life, creating a vibrant community dedicated to self-discovery. Elias watched as participants transformed, each finding their own meaning in the words of Socrates. The changes Elias inspired began to spread. A former corporate executive who attended one of his workshops left her high-stress job to start an art therapy practice. A young man reconciled with his estranged parents after years of silence. These stories reaffirmed Elias' belief in the power of Socrates' words. Elias also collaborated with schools to introduce reflection practices to students. He believed that young minds learned to question their values and choices early, they could avoid the trap of unexamined living. The results were promising. Students reported feeling more confident and emotionally resilient. Teachers observed greater empathy and critical thinking among their pupils. Years later, Elias sat by a fire, reflecting on his journey. His life was far from perfect, but it was full of meaning. He had faced his fears, embraced his flaws, and lived authentically. And in doing so, he had helped others find their own paths. The once ordinary man from a small town had become a catalyst for change. The words of Socrates, once a mere challenge, had become a guiding principle. The examined life wasn't about perfection. It was about growth, courage, and authenticity. It was a journey without end, and that made it profoundly worth living. Elias' story reminds us all, the journey of self-examination is difficult but transformative. It takes courage to face the truth and resilience to grow from it. But as Socrates so wisely said, only through examination can we unlock the full potential of our lives. In a world grappling with global challenges, the need for examined lives has never been greater. By daring to question, to reflect, and to act with purpose, we not only enrich our own lives, but contribute to a collective future filled with wisdom and authenticity.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and learn with me. I truly appreciate your support and the opportunity to share something meaningful with you today. Your time and attention mean the world to me, and I hope this explanation has been helpful or inspiring in some way. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with others who might benefit from it. As always, your thoughts and feedback are welcome. Feel free to leave a comment below. And remember, no matter where you are in your journey, there's always something new to discover and understand. Jesus, help me to continue to bring light, clarity, and wisdom to others. Thank you, and may you all stay blessed.